Did you know that there are almost 1.5 million children being homeschooled in America today? I'm going to tell you what it was like to be homeschooled from myself. Hi everyone, and thank you for being here today. You could turn off your phone, it's okay.
Sorry.
I'm going to talk to you today about one of the peak experiences in my life. There were a few different ones I could have chose from, but I decided to come my experience of being homeschooled. Homeschooling was an integral part of my life. Without it, I would not be the person I am today. I'm going to tell you about my experience regarding being homeschooled and how I feel about life before, during, and after being homeschooled. First, I'll tell you a little background from before I was homeschooled. I started kindergarten in Australia when I was 5. My mother tried to get me accepted a little bit early, but the school would not allow it, even after I completed all the testing they wanted. Wow, people do not know the rule of phones. I ended up not completing the school year there as my grandpa got sick. As Grandpa was not looking like he was going to improve, we decided to stay in America until he ended up passing away. So my parents enrolled me in the local school in first grade. This was also part of the way into the school year. Life continued as normal, Grandpa passed away, and I eventually finished first grade in America. At this point, we went back to Australia, and my parents tried to get me into year 2, or second grade, as it's called over here, as I had already completed first grade in America. The school wouldn't allow it, as I was too young, and we were part of the way through the Australian school year, which starts in January. The school told my mother that she had no choice, that I had to go into year 1 again. But if you know my mother at all, she does not like being told that she has no options. She came home and to see what else she could do about it, and she ended up coming up with the idea of homeschooling me. To be homeschooled, the process in Australia is that you have to fill out some forms, and you have to continue to write an outline of the syllabus that you'll be following, and you'll have to keep a diary of what you're going to cover, and on what days you actually covered it. Anyone can decide that they want to homeschool their children as long as they follow the guidelines from the Department of Education. To make sure that I was being taught everything correctly according to the Australian standards, my parents hired a tutor for 1 hour a week. My mother went to school over here in America, and in Australia the English is a little bit different, such as some pronunciations and some spelling of words. So the tutor covered anything that my mother felt she could not teach right, and anything that I needed a little bit of extra help with. To ensure that I was keeping up with my year level, I participated in some standardized research testing that Australia has. This is available to all students, whether they're homeschooled or in traditional schooling. By completing these tests, in the different fields, such as there were science and math and English writing tests, my parents were able to see if I was on par with the children in my year group, and if I also needed any extra help and anything if I might have fallen behind. When choosing the materials that my parents were going to use to help teach me, they looked in the classrooms of different schools to see what they used, and they based what books they used to teach me on what the books covered, if they covered the same things as what was in school, so that I wouldn't fall behind. Physical education and music are also very important in school life. To make sure that I covered both of these, my parents enrolled me in different classes. Throughout my life, I've participated in ballet, swimming, and gymnastics, as well as piano lessons and a choir class, and some drama classes too. The socialization aspect of homeschooling is always a concern of educators, government officials, and the general public. To address this, homeschoolers organize events, get-togethers, and courses together. When I was homeschooled, we went to monthly park visits, which included nature walks, cooking classes, art and arts and crafts, just to name a few of the activities. There were also weekly drama and choir classes. Museum visits and other educational facility visits were also organized. Through these experiences, I got to interact with the children of all ages and make friends that lasted years after I left the homeschooling network. I am now Facebook friends with some of the people that I used to meet with, and I have been out of the homeschooling circuit for over 12 years now. Being homeschooled allows for more free time, as you can get through your work faster as a single person than as a group of 30. This gave me more time to play outside and to learn more about things I was actually interested in. The one subject that I was actually really interested in when I was younger was math. I was a bit of a crazy person. I would work ahead in my books, and by the time I was back into the school system, I was a whole grade level ahead of my peers. As I was not forced to work at times I did not want to, and I didn't lose my drive to learn, as many kids in traditional schooling do. I liked to learn new things. I wanted to learn new things. Getting back into the school system was rather difficult. My mother wanted me to be back in school before high school, which in Australia starts at year 7, as she felt the material was too advanced for her to teach me at home. To do this, I had to be assessed with testing and discussion. The education system still wanted me to be held back, even though I had passed all of their testing they required. Finally, a small religious school accepted me back in. In term 2, week 2, on a Tuesday in 2002, I started back in school in year 6. I was the youngest person in my class. I myself did not have a problem with going back to school and the long hours compared to homeschooling, which was just a few a day. I did run into a few other problems, though. The teaching style was not tailored to me like it was at home. At home, I could choose how to learn any way I wanted to, whereas at school, we had to learn the way the teacher taught, and there was no other way accepted. Once I got into high school, the only additional problem I encountered was a biased teacher who was very opposed to homeschooling and treated me differently because of it. I barely passed the class because of the teacher. I had done a standardized test on the same material in the same year, and I'd gotten an A. Part of the way through the class, she'd come up to me and asked, "Are you the one that was homeschooled?" When I asked yes, she just said, "Oh," and left. After that, I was treated differently by her. Today, I think that being homeschooled has helped me with the classes that I'm taking now online. Online schooling is a lot different to traditional schooling. You have to make a schedule and stick to it, or you'll fall behind. Online schooling is almost exactly the same as homeschooling, and are both more self-driven than traditional schooling, where the teacher is right there telling you have to finish that assignment or you will get 0. Being self-driven will help more in work life, as no one is going to remind you that you have to have that project done by next week. It's just going to be the deadline, and you might have forgotten. Out of all the different education systems I've experienced, homeschooling has the biggest effect on me. Homeschooling was a positive and important part of my life, and it gave me techniques to succeed later in life. Overall, the time before I was homeschooled in Australia and in America, being homeschooled, and my life after were all crucial experiences for me, which all taught me different things. Homeschooling was a large part of my life, and I don't think I would be the person I am today without it. Thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to listen to me talk about my experiences. Thanks.
That was good.